To help you make sense of the code that I've written, since you'll need to be a master of it to build on top of it, here's a quick tour of some of the major pieces of functionality that are here. I'm going to start with the bank account, which, when it is initialized, sets the initial balance based off of the amount that I send to it as a user, as well as requires me to set a password if the password hasn't been set yet. That's managed through this next method. I'll let you look through that on your own once you get to that point. I also have some helper methods to see if I can afford an item that allows me to process a payment or not, depending on how much balance I have left, as well as make a purchase. And you'll notice in a few spots here that I check password with this helper method here. Whenever I'm making a purchase, I want to ensure the security of my account, so it requires the user to check the password. And if so, it also has to do a check to see if I have enough balance remaining. I'm also able to print a report in this class as well. Overall, not too complicated, but it accomplishes the basics of a bank account, and maybe you want to consider adding some functionality to this feature. Let's head into the buyable class, which is really just a piece of conceptual organization that defines what is a buyable. Anything that's buyable in the store must have a price and a name and a category assigned to it when it's created, based off of this init method. I have 3 other classes that inherit from buyable, the more specific types of inventory the store currently carries: buyable clothing, buyable food, and buyable games. And each one of these comes with their own custom attributes: size for clothing, weight for food, and numplayers and genre for the games. Do notice that the constructor, the initializer, does a supercall to the buyable class's initializer, sending off the custom price and name, but pre-assigning the category that this is a part of, so I don't have to worry about that later on in my code. You will be very likely adding some more custom types of buyables to your own storefront and engaging them in the interface in your own way. The third place I'll look here is the store inventory. I want to begin down closer to the bottom, where we actually see some information about lists being populated. This initialize inventory list actually takes some of our different lists that I have at the top of the class here, a clothes for sale list, a food for sale list, and a games for sale list, and populates them with the different items that my store holds. Here I have a small hoodie, I have a couple different types of hoodies here, which is why there's 3 in the storefront. I have dress shoes and sandals and gloves. Notice that I sometimes show you adding multiple things in different spots. I sometimes use this helper method, add multiple, to add multiple things, which has some interesting logic I'll show you below. But I do a similar thing for food as well as games, adding content to those lists along here. And it looks like I put the add multiple up here, right? Where when I'm adding multiple, I actually allow there to be a check for the type of item, and I check which class it's based off of to know which list to add it to, because I don't want to be adding clothing to the food list and so on and so forth. So here's a strategy for being able to kind of siphon through the different types of data being sent. I don't have to worry about which type of item I send it, because I process the different types of items conditionally inside of this logic. A nice strategy for being able to kind of filter things into certain categories later down the line. I also have in this class the ability to get the full list of the inventory, where I actually add all 3 of these lists together into one master list that I send back and return. I allow myself to remove items from this inventory as they're transferred either to the the shopping cart or to the user itself, and the item is removed. If I do so here, I'm able to restock an item as well, where if an item is currently taken away from the shopping cart, it gets added back into the inventory. However, there might be a way for you to do customer returns or even improve the system if you're clever enough in this project. So this is the management of the inventory directly. Now let's take the most complex part of this code, which is the storefront itself. And here, I allow myself to do a whole bunch of different pieces of functionality, as well as process the core logic of the program, which I do at the very bottom where I want to begin here. The program begins procedurally down near the bottom, where I create a bank account, I ask for a deposit, and then I generate the bank account based off of the deposit. And then I begin my main menu loop, where I show the user all the options, and then process the logic and redirect them to the relevant function inside of my code up above. And so all the options are processed here, and each one of the options has at least one method, or function, I guess, in this category here, because it's not a class, to view the catalog, to buy an item, to review the inventory, and so on and so forth. Let's take a quick look at the buy item content, where we have the user type in the name of the item, and then we hold a variable that has nothing assigned to it yet. There's nothing contained in it. And what I'm going to be trying to do is take a look through my full inventory and see if the item name the user types in is equal to any of the items inside of the inventory. And if the names match up, I'm going to assign that item to the item to purchase that I have ready in this scope here. And then I check if item to purchase is not none, because if I don't find that name in this list, this will remain none. But if I do find the item, this will be updated to the item. So if it's not none, meaning if there is an item with that name that we found, then, well, I want to purchase that item. And I ask the user to confirm if they want to purchase it, and if they do, then I run my make purchase from store method. Otherwise, I need to move, well, if I choose to, this is where I put it in the shopping cart. Move item to shopping cart is a separate piece of functionality that I've built. Otherwise, purchase canceled. I don't do anything with the item. I just loop back to the main menu. So what happens? Well, the review my inventory and review, I can't say that word, review financials. You can look through yourself. Nice and simple methods here. But what if I want to review my shopping cart? Well, I need to actually look at the items in the shopping cart, assuming there are any inside of it, and allow the user to decide to buy or to leave it, which is kind of just another version of the above menu for buying an item. It's just a different context for buying that inventory item. What if I want to buy an item in my shopping cart? Well, I have a specialized function, make purchase from shopping cart, built to process that with similar logic above to what I did previously. And let's go down to remove item from shopping cart. Here's an example of another piece of logic here. This kind of a framework of our code allows us to define what type of thing our buyable is going to be. Or sorry, our item in cart is going to be. Remember that we have a loosely typed system in Python, so that this item in cart in my shopping cart is it's not too sure exactly what it is. But what I can do when I'm running this Python is it's going to pop up a menu when you're typing in code like this to allow you to generate a type definition, where I am kind of setting Python's compiler here to be confident that this is a buyable type item, which allows me to type in something like item in cart dot, and then see all of the functionality attached to a buyable, because it knows it's a buyable. If I don't do this, then the PyCharm won't actually recommend anything to me, and I just have to remember what applies to that item myself from memory. That's a little thing that you see if you type in a loop like this. You'll see a little pop-up on the side and can enable the item typing yourself. And I can help you with that later if you are interested in doing so. It's totally unnecessary, just a bit of a helpful thing so you don't have to look back at some of your other code if you forget how it works. So in here, if the item is in my shopping cart, then I do the name comparison like before, and I move item from shopping cart to inventory. What I really want you to see evidence of here is that each of these pieces of functionality are pretty short. They're very modular. Whenever I have a new task that needs doing, I've built a special place for that to happen. I could have just contained this logic up in here, but I want to break it out so that I can reference this from other places later if I want to, and just to keep my code as modular and as separated out logically as I'm able to practice good coding habits and to make my code, ideally in the long run, a bit more generalized. I'll allow you to view a bit more about some of these other methods, but in short, moving an item really just requires me to append that item to my user account, which I'm holding up here. My stuff and my shopping cart are stored in this class. And my store inventory is, well, it gets the store inventory from the store inventory class and holds the whole inventory here. So when I'm passing items from the inventory to my stuff or to my shopping cart, there's really just 3 different data structures managing those things. One's the stores, one's mine, and one's that temporary in between while I'm still making a decision. And so in this logical processing that I do down here, I'm adding an item to my shopping cart while right next removing that item from the inventory so that it doesn't exist in both places. This allows me to kind of move it from one place to another. Same with restocking. The store can restock it, and if I do so, I need to remove it from my list of items. And you can take a look at these methods a little bit more closely yourself for how this works. And there's similar logic down in the purchases from the store, as well as the purchase from the shopping cart. And so there you have it. Those are really the main algorithms for managing this inventory with some of our different classes that we've made from these buyables to this account that kind of helps manage the purchases, the inventory, which breaks down and stores all the individual things that can be purchased, and the store itself, which processes all the logic of the program. Your first task in this project is to play around running this code a few times, get used to it, study it over until you're really comfortable with understanding how I've built it, and then you're going to make it way better. If you view the assignment for this section, you'll see that there is a number of different difficulty level challenges that I've listed for you to try to work on solving, with suggestions from me for things that you could work on solving, as well as some sections where you can make some of your own decisions. And I'm looking for you to create a certain amount of content, so quantity matters. However, I'm also looking for you to make high quality content of various levels of complexity to make the storefront a lot more user-friendly, robust, have more options presented in it, and just a lot more like what a real storefront might look like. So let me know if you have any questions, need any help, and with that, good luck creating your digital storefronts.